So here we are again. Taking a look at Chapter 3 of Way of the Heart, the chapter on forgiveness. There's a lot here. Again, if you're here in our temple in Bali or watching on the computer, hopefully the last now 3 darshans I think we've done on forgiveness have really only covered the first few pages of this chapter. And hopefully it gives you a sense that there's something very fundamentally important about this chapter. Actually, Chapter 1, Chapter 2, and Chapter 3 of the Way of the Heart are the foundation of the entire Way of Mastery and his teaching. So they're worth spending time with, reading a sentence and taking a breath and letting it sit with you and see how it feels, and being with curiosity and wonder, asking yourself, what did I just read? What is that really saying to me? Is that how I live? Is this different than how I think and perceive? Would I be willing to entertain it and consider it? And I might discover that there is a way of looking at the world from Jeshua's point of view that begins to liberate me from my suffering. There's so much in here that is axiomatic and fundamental to the nature of consciousness and the nature of a genuine spirituality, what it's really about. In other words, I used to do yoga. I was a yoga zealot and I taught yoga. But you can do years of hatha yoga and chanting and still not be involved in a genuine spirituality, because you're involved in external things and you're still the personality who's still as unconscious as ever before. You'll have more flexibility. Your body will be a little healthier, but you won't necessarily be less defensive or more aware of what's occurring in the dynamics of your own consciousness. So there are stages of the journey that we go through, and while it's incredibly important to rid the body of its toxicity and its tensions, because this keeps your consciousness preoccupied, it keeps your suffering in place. The more the body is freed from those things, the more your consciousness can look within, and the more you'll have the energy necessary to stay present when your deeper stuff starts to get fleshed up. It requires your presence and your breath and your feeling and your honesty to interrupt the tendencies of projection. So the alchemy of spirituality requires energy. So to discipline the body is an act of self-love, pure and simple, to care for it. To take this vehicle that Joshua lets us know has been used as a dumping ground for everything we don't want. We stuff it into the cells of the body. To realize that this is a communion and communication device, and it's the vehicle through which I can awaken. So why not take care of it? So a little exercise and some breath and some good food and some African drumming music and breathing, all of these things help the nervous system to be able to deal with the deeper core emotional catharsis and releases that will come along, to be able to feel one's discomfort and remain in it without projecting or without reacting is huge. And in yoga, you learn to go to the edge of the body's limit, back off just a little bit where you can come into communion with the breath. And when you do that, sometimes you can watch the mind just want to get the heck out of class. You hate the teacher. You're wondering why you're subjecting yourself to this misery, and yet you learn to stay at the edge of the leaf. Well, that's a valuable skill, but it's a skill that transcends the merely physical effect of the yoga. Yes, the muscle gets a little longer and more supple in hatha yoga, but that's not the goal of the practice. You can master all 108 classical poses and still be a snobby egotist because you have not turned consciousness upon itself. So we're dealing here in the practice of forgiveness with the deeper dimensions of a genuine spirituality. So in our last darshan we were talking about projection. And for many people, I know I went through this too, projection, what's that? I don't project, I just call it the way I see it. And what I see is, the guy is a jerk. And maybe not so fast. So to realize there is this profound dynamic occurring in the field of what we call the unconsciousness. It is a habit. And that habit is deep in the soul. And it's like something that comes up and colors the world, veils what's really true, and shapes it into what we have decided it will be. In other places, Joshua gives a beautiful definition of perception. So projection comes first, and then we see, but we're actually just seeing our veil. Like if you had a pair of colored sunglasses on and forgot that they were on, and you look out at the world and you go, wow, everything's kind of rose-colored today. Well, yeah, dude, you got rose-colored sunglasses on. Oh, I mean the color is in my lens. It's not necessarily in the tree or the person out there. So we look through our own filters. And so perception is the result of projection until we interrupt the process of projection itself. And what he said about perception is that it's a very fascinating thing to consider. Perception is the result of where you believe you will find your safety. Could then projection have something to do with the dynamic of fear itself? And I am thus seeing the world according to where I've already decided I will find my safety. I need to see you as the one who is finally going to give me the experience of love. Could I be seeing you that way because I've already decided that you must be the source of my safety, that which heals and comforts my soul? She's the great love of my life. I couldn't breathe without her. True or untrue? So just a little addition to this beautiful statement. Perception is the result of where you have decided or believed you will find your safety. Could projection and perception have something to do with the dynamic of what's not healed within me? My own fears, my own sense of alienation from the divine. Could this be the ground from which I'm coloring and creating my perceptions of the world? Just like to remind you, look for the places when you're studying the text, the if-thens and the when-thens, and then really contemplate them, because when he does this, he's again anchoring for you what you need to do, and he's revealing what will be the effect. So just stop and look at it very closely and ask yourself, is that an effect I want? Am I willing to devote my time and energy to the alchemy that can create my soul as the soil in which these effects can blossom, can become manifest? And here's another beautiful one. He's letting us know that a lot of people like to try to change the world through external action. But he says to us that if you want things to be different in the world, it must begin first with you. That your first priority is to heal and awaken your own consciousness, rather than acting to heal or fix the world, since the world itself is the projection or result of human consciousness, how it's operating within, consciously or unconsciously. when you have made this change within, this deep alchemy of genuine healing and awakening, when that change has occurred, then you will become a conduit for an energy that knows how to use your gifts and how to place you in just the right situations. And a great power will work effectively through you. Not moderately or ineffectively, but effectively. The power, and here's another key word. When he uses this word, pay attention. The power alone means there is nothing else. The power alone which knows how to heal your world. Which means, of myself, I don't know how to heal the world. I can only discover how to allow healing to occur in my own being. As that happens, I become a conduit for a power that we could effectively say isn't me and mine. I don't direct it. It's greater than my ideas of myself or my present level of consciousness. We find this idea in some of his key biblical statements when his disciples said to him, "Boy, how do you do these amazing things? You touch people and they heal, the water into wine thing, that saves a lot of money." So all these things happen, but what is his response? "Why do you call me good? There is only one who is good. Of myself I do nothing, but the Father through me does these things." So he's saying again something here that is entirely consistent with how he lived, how he viewed himself, how he operated, and his own understanding that what we call God is forever beyond our comprehension. Even though there's only God, I am the created of God, but as the created, my proper orientation to the source of my being is surrendered devotion to that which is greater than the created. It's a paradoxical state. There's only God, yet each of us has an awareness of being part of creation. And that part of creation, its rightful orientation to the source of all life is through surrendered devotion, through humility. Why do you call me good? There is only one that's good. So he constantly defers every miracle, every extension of the good, the holy, and the beautiful to that which is greater than the personal self. He takes no credit. So years ago I figured out, I need to give thanks for everything that occurs through me that blesses the world and recognize I'm not the doer and the maker. And just give thanks for whatever grace has done to force me to look at myself enough to heal and become a better conduit. And the things that don't go well, that's what I need to take ownership of. Because I must be getting in the way. What is it in me that's obstructing the flow of this power?